Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Living Astrology with Janet. It's time to grab your cup of coffee or your tea, sit back and relax while we chat about the biggest news up in the stars for the week ahead, which, of course, this week means the new moon, but also the zodiacal or astrological new year, the only real true new year of the year happening later this week. We'll probably talk mostly about that on Friday, as it's actually happening that day. Today, we're going to focus our energies on the new moon and the transits of planets that are occurring in and around that period of time. I need to know if you guys can hear me out here because this morning I'm using my headset because the contractors have already showed up for work, and I don't know how much noise they will make or not make this morning. So, if you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up or say yes, I can hear you, because I changed microphone and speaker mid setting up of the stream because I realized that they were already here. If you can't hear me, then I need to do something. Okay, wishing everybody had a good weekend. We actually, okay, thank you, Amy Stone. We actually had a pretty busy weekend around here in that we had a birthday party for my one of my younger grandsons. He turned 8, and that was yesterday. And you know what? I can't even remember what we did on Saturday. It seemed like we did a bunch of stuff, but anyway, who knows what I did? But it was a good weekend in that there was, nothing crazy going on, and I managed to get through the days landing last night going, wow, where did the weekend go? It's like I ask this question all the time. Where did the weekend go? So, good morning to you, Willow. Good morning, Christine Buckingham and Amy Stone. Thank you so much for letting me know the audio is good. I saw my husband out there. Good morning to Terry and Jacqueline Tyler. Nice to see you. And let's see who else. Joan Durchie, good morning to you. Happy Monday. And Amy D, good to have you with us this morning. So, today would be a good idea to have your astrology chart handy if you have it, right? If you have it, keep it handy because toward the end of the broadcast, I'm going to be going down through all of the placements of the new moon for people in the sign of Pisces. So, if you know where your what house Pisces is in, great. Then we don't need you won't need your chart. But if you don't know, having your chart will be very helpful. So before we talk about the specifics of the week, it helps to remember what a new moon actually represents in the lunar cycle. I mean, I think pretty much everybody has an idea that the new moon represents something new, right? It's the potential for something. But let's start with what is it astronomically, right? So a new moon occurs when the sun and the moon come together, occupying the same degree of the zodiac. Or in astronomical terms, we could say they are in the same degree of the ecliptic plane. And astronomically, that means the moon is sitting between the earth on one side and the sun on the other. So the side of the moon illuminated by the sun is sort of facing away from us. And that's why we can't see it in the sky, or we just see, this very uh, shadowy looking piece. Now, energetically, this is the beginning of a new cycle, right? We talk about this with Mercury. When Mercury comes into a conjunction with the sun, it starts a new cycle. But that cycle starts with the sun and moon when the new moon occurs. And every new moon plants a seed that will unfold over the next 29 and a half days or so, because that's the cycle of the moon. And eventually reaching fullness at the full moon, and then gradually releasing what was created at the new moon over as the cycle wanes, right? As we go from new moon to full moon and then down back again to the new moon. So, in practical terms, the new moon is a time for setting intentions. It is a time for beginning something new, right? Listening inwardly before taking action. and planting energetic seeds that will grow over the month ahead. And sometimes those energetic seeds need to take more time than just one new moon cycle as well, right? That was something confusing to me in my early days of astrology is how can everything so, big in your life button up over the course of 30 days or 29 and a half days? And sometimes it just doesn't. But not all of the new moons are the same. Well, I mean, for one thing, each new moon occurs in a different zodiac sign. Once in a while, we get a black moon, which is a time when there is a second new moon in the same month or in the same sign. But where the sign is determines where the new energy is being generated in your life, right? Based on the house referencing an area of your life where the new energy is being triggered or being, brought to the surface. Now, this particular new moon is happening in Pisces, right? And it is the final sign of the zodiac. And that means that something very special is happening with this new moon. And it's not just this year that this is happening, by the way. Every year we have a new moon in Pisces right around this time period, right? While the sun is moving through Pisces. And this isn't just the start of a new lunar cycle, it is also the closing chapter beginning for the whole entire zodiacal or astrological year. And that this year seems very apropos because, the 18th is the new moon, and 2 days later, the 20th, is the zodiac new year, right? So they're very tightly put together here. And the Pisces new moon then carries a very specific message for each one of us. And that is, we must complete something or what came before we can actually start something new. So Pisces is the sign of endings and forgiveness, tolerance, acceptance, universal love, spiritual integration, and it asks us to release what is no longer um, needed to carry forward in our world, in our lives. And it does let us then enter into a new cycle lighter and clearer, maybe, right? But we actually have to do some of the work ourselves in determining what it is that we're going to let go of. Now, the Pisces moon isn't going to be happening in just this like sterile atmosphere. If you take a look at the chart here on the right side, highlighted in blue, you see the Pisces new moon. And there's a stellium here of planets. We have Mercury in retrograde here. We have the North Node here, Mars, and then Sun and Moon. So, this is a snapshot, by the way, of the new moon period of time. Now, there's actually a gathering of planets here. So that means there's a lot more energy than what you would at first blush think of, right? It's not just sun, moon, there's a lot going on here. And as we have, these planets that are sitting here, they are somewhat modifying the experience of this particular new moon. And when multiple planets occupy the same sign, we call that a stellium. So don't get lost in the verbiage there. And it amplifies the archetype of that sign because many different planets coming from many different voices are all apparently joining together here in this sign. So this week, this new moon, it's saturated with Piscean energy. And Pisces, remember, represents compassion and intuition and our dreams and our emotional sensitivity, which hopefully leads us to emotional intelligence, our spiritual awareness. And of course, sometimes confusion or overwhelm, right? That's part of the Piscean experience as well. And with Mercury retrograde here also in the sign, the mind itself is turning inward. I don't know how many times I had to rewrite the script for the show this morning because I kept flubbing up. I just like my mind didn't want to focus in a straight line. It was all over the place. And then would read it back and go, wait a minute. No, that is not what I mean. And so I'd have to change it. So Mercury retrograde here, also playing with our minds and Neptune as the ruler of Pisces, giving us the blurriness, the dreamlike quality, sometimes the disclarity of the thought processes, right? So this is not a time when the universe expects you to have everything figured out, right? This is not clarity of the mind time. It's really much more a time for reflection, right? For looking inward. Mercury retrograde in Pisces is an invitation for us to rethink our beliefs and to reconsider decisions that we've made or that we are about to make, to listen to your intuition rather than logic. Logic doesn't fly very well in Piscean energy. And then we're also open to revisiting ideas that may not yet be fully formed. So we're still building something here from the dream, yet it's not quite all the way in the physical world. Now, then, we also add Mars in Pisces to this particular conversation. And Mars normally represents action and drive, assertion, that dynamic motion that propels us forward. But in Pisces, Mars kind of behaves very differently. Instead of charging forward, Mars here tends to move through emotion and intuition. And this can look like our acting from compassion, right? Taking some time to consider what we feel and how will feel, considering the sensitivity of the energy around us. It could also look like standing up for others who cannot stand up for themselves, right? Becoming protective in some ways around our family, our friends, our community, or being motivated by something spiritual rather than practical, right? Or something spiritual rather than the usual way that triggers us to take action. But it can also add to the unclarity, right? Or the uncertainty about what direction that we're here to take at this new moon. And then we add the North Node here. Now, the North Node has been transiting through Pisces for quite a while. The nodes always enter in from the 29th degree and down to the 0 degree. So we have a North Node right now that's at about 8 degrees. So that's telling you that we are closing out the phase of North Node in Pisces. In fact, this summer, we will actually end that transit when the North Node transits into the sign of Aquarius. But the lunar nodes represent our evolutionary path, the path of our souls. The South Node describes what it is that we have to leave behind, and it's in Virgo right now. It's the patterns that we have to release, the familiar patterns that we've relied on in the past, and the habits and behaviors that feel comfortable but may no longer really support our growth. So the North Node now, on the other hand, shows the direction of the collective. Where are we moving to? And each of us individually is also being asked to grow forward and grow toward the emotional sensitivity, the emotional intelligence, the intuitive gifts, the spiritual gifts that are there in the sign of Pisces, which means the invitation is for us not to move away from Piscean qualities, but to develop them more deeply, right? So each of us being asked to develop our Piscean intuition, our Piscean connection to spirit, God, source, universe, universal mind, universal love, all of these things in a much bigger way. The North Node in Pisces asks us to grow in areas such as compassion, spiritual awareness, right? These gifts of the soul, intuition, forgiveness, the things that we've already mentioned here. Um, and the ability to trust something larger than the mind, right? That there's something that we all have access to that is larger than the thinking processes of the mind. In many ways, this nodal placement has been teaching us to balance the analytical awareness of Virgo in the South Node, the sign opposite of Pisces, with a deeper sense of faith and empathy, right? So we're balancing these two hemispheres of the brain, almost, if you will, right? And Virgo, where the South Node is, wants us to solve every problem with analysis and precision and all of that can get us really caught up in the mind, and this is what we're letting go of. And sometimes, well, Pisces really reminds us that life can be, not everything in life can be measured or controlled. That sometimes growth comes through our surrendering to the process or our acceptance of what is happening and maybe trust in the flow of life. That is a Piscean trait. So when the new moon now occurring in Pisces, while the North Node is also in Pisces, it gives us this message that becomes even stronger, right? This isn't just a moment of reflection for all of us, it's a course correction toward the future. And the emotional and spiritual themes emerging in each one of us at this point are pointing us toward our collective evolution. And it's a big step, right? This is a huge step. In other words, the universe is gently, or maybe not so, nudging us toward greater compassion, toward greater understanding, and a deeper recognition of that we are all connected. We might not all agree on how things are going or on how to live life or what's right and wrong, but we are all connected. And that gives us this deeper recognition that we are one. Oneness is a Piscean theme. All right. Now, let's look at this from the human design perspective. The whole shebang of the new moon and even Pisces, Neptune and Saturn, a little bit here in early Aries, they're all sitting in the gate 25. The gate 25, as we've talked many times, is the gate called the love of spirit. It is really a gate that is in the identity center. It is a gate that really connects us to direction, and the direction is a deeper love that connects us to life itself. So I'm going to stop sharing this screen for a minute and go back to sharing my human design screen so that you can see in human design where it is that this is all happening. So when you look at the human design chart here, the diamond shape in the middle is the identity center, the center for love and direction. And the two gates that are defined during this period of time as we get to the new moon, right? The new moon is really very powerful because it's a shifting of energies at the same time. That day, in fact, just before the new moon, we shift out of the gate 36, 6, Earth, to the gate 25, Sun, and the gate 46, Earth, right? Like minutes, just a couple of minutes before, which equates to like not even a half a degree, like a few tenths of a degree. And the energy of the gate 25, that's where the new moon will be, right? 25 is sitting here on the right side, the corner of the identity center. Um, is the energy in the gene keys that moves us from constriction, like the constricting of the heart, into the gift of acceptance, and then ultimately into the siddhi of universal love. So it shows us, by the way, every gate sitting in human design, everyone has. Like there isn't anybody on the planet who isn't here to be loved or to love, right? I don't care who you are or what you've done in your life. There is not one person on this earth that is not designed to be loved or to be loved, right? So that's profound, don't you think? Right? Because we're all going along, you know, doing things sometimes that seem to be a call out for more love, and yet it was precisely within your realm all along, right? It's in your body, and the pathway that we're taking from constriction to acceptance to universal love tells us something really profound about the spiritual lesson of this new moon, right? This new moon at the shadow level, the gate 25 feels like the constriction of the heart, where it's shutting down, where it's coming inward, and it shows up when life experiences cause us to close down emotionally, and like through disappointment or betrayal, or when hardships arise and it makes us feel guarded or we feel disconnected, or we feel disconnected from trusting in life and trusting in love. And this is something, many people can relate to right now, because we see a world that at times seems very unloving, right? It's like, where did the love go? Right? Where did tolerance and acceptance go? The world has been through enormous upheaval in the recent years, right? The recent past. I mean, go back to even the Saturn Jupiter conjunction at 0 Aquarius on the winter solstice of 2020. This is where I think a lot of, maybe even 2019, when we were first hearing about something called the coronavirus, um, when life became turbulent, and the natural human instinct is to protect the heart. So, in some ways, life outside of us has led us to really start shutting down our heart centers. But the gate 25 reminds us that the heart was never meant to remain closed, right? It was always meant to be open. And this gift of acceptance is where this is, right? Meeting life exactly as it is, without bitterness or without resistance. It is what it is, right? Acceptance is not resignation. It would be real easy to just become resigned to, this is how it is. But acceptance is the moment when we stop fighting reality and instead begin to work within it, right? We're working within reality. And from that place of acceptance, something extraordinary can emerge. And the siddhi, at the highest expression here, is universal love. So universal love can come from our acceptance, right? And this is, the deeper recognition, by the way, that beneath all the chaos and the conflict and the confrontational energies in the world, there is still a deeper connection linking all life together, and it's love, right? And doesn't this message feel especially powerful for a Piscean full moon? Because Pisces itself is associated with compassion, with forgiveness, with empathy, and understanding that we are all part of something greater. So having the sun sitting at the gate 25, along with the moon and along with Neptune and Saturn, is huge, 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 huge. But we also gotta take a look at the Earth here. And, at the time of the new moon, right? Right now, the Earth is not at the gate 46, nor is the sun at the gate 25. This all happens with the new moon on Wednesday. We're gonna dig a little bit deeper into the new moon itself too in a few minutes here. But the Earth will be in the gate 46. And by the way, every spring we have this particular setup where the gates of love of the spirit and the gate 46, which is the love of the body, or the love of being in the body, or in embodiment, is always happening, right? That's the sun earth connection. Just as in the fall, it's the other way around. The sun sits at the gate 46 while the earth sits at the gate 25. So we get this, these lessons at the equinoxes that tells us it's time to equal out, time to bring love into the body and bring love into the spirit, and be more in our loving field of energy. It gives us a fresh start from a loving perspective every equinox. Now, there's love at the solstices too, but it takes a little different form at the two solstices. So, gate 46 is often called the love of the body, but sometimes it's also called serendipity. And in the gene keys, this energy moves from the shadow of seriousness to the gift of delight, and the highest expression, the siddhi of ecstasy. So while gate 25 opens up the heart, that's where the sun is, the heart to the love of spirit. The gate 46 reminds us that spirit is not separate from the physical world. It just seems that way, but it's not, right? Just because it's an invisible quotient, um, doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So it is experienced through the body, right? We experience spirit through the body, through the earth, and through our physical lives. Um, Together, these gates 25 and 46 really create this really beautiful polarity. Um, The gate 25 connects us to love that exists in the universe itself, while the 46 reminds us that the way that we experience that love is by being fully present in your physical form, right? Being very present in your physical life through your bodies, through your experiences, and through the unexpected moments of synchronicity or serendipity that remind us that we are all a part of something larger, right? We're all a part of something larger. So fascinating, right? So take a look at your own human design charts here and look at where the identity center is. And is your gate 25 and 46, are they already colored in? If so, now you're adding some new energy into that field of love. And if your gates 25 and 46 are white, you are now going to have them defined, and this theme becomes ever more present in your personal life. All right. So that's how we would look at that kind of thing. Now, there is another interesting thing occurring in our astrology. I'm going to bring the astrology chart back up for this particular time period because although the new moon occurs at the 28 degrees of Pisces, it's also sitting very close to Neptune and Saturn in an out of sign conjunction. So, what you see here in blue is the sun and the moon at 28 degrees. And just across the border into the seventh house or into Aries sits the planet Neptune and Saturn. So, while they are not in the same sign, they are still within orb of what we would consider a conjunction to this new moon. And so we have what is called an out of sign conjunction to Saturn and Neptune in the sign of Aries. So it's like the new moon is standing then at the doorway between two worlds, right? The world of spirit and the world of matter, right? Pisces represents the ending, Aries represents the beginning. So it feels very much like a threshold moment, doesn't it? Right? We're standing at this gateway. Aries always represents what's new, right? What's starting. And Pisces always is the process of bringing something to an end, to closure. And Saturn and Neptune together in Aries suggests that the dreams that we are imagining in the Piscean area of our charts now are beginning to take form in the real world. Saturn representing the form and the structure of the dream Neptune being made manifest in the world that we live in. Saturn brings that structure, right? It brings the discipline and the responsibility to make the dream real. Neptune brings the vision that supports the building of the structure. And when they work together, right, then they really help us turn inspiration into reality. So when we combine the astrology and the human design of this particular new moon, it becomes a message that is quite clear, right? Pisces inviting us to surrender into compassion, and the gate 25 asking us to open up our hearts, and the gate 46 reminding us that life is meant to be experienced fully, even if sometimes it's unpredictable how that is going to show up. In other words, the new moon is not just about releasing the past. We're not just bringing things to an ending. It's also about rediscovering trust in life itself, right? Trusting in life itself, that everything is happening as it was meant to be. Trust that even the difficult experiences that we encounter are shaping us, are guiding us, and sometimes even placing us exactly where we need to be in the right moment at the right time, where serendipity and synchronicity or coincidence can meet together and open you to something new in your life. So while the human design chart, shows us the emotional curriculum of this new moon, learning through experience or the experience of love in the spirit and the experiences lived in the body, the astrology shows us the larger forces that are shaping those experiences, right? The epic conjunction of Saturn and Neptune, or this epic time of transition as we move from Pisces to the sign of Aries. And there are several powerful planetary aspects woven into this new moon chart, and together they'll tell the story of a world in transition, which, I mean, we all see, right? Every day there's this world in transition. And then for us personally, it can also represent a turning point in our lives, a turning point. So, a little bit later in the broadcast here, we're going to look at the houses of the chart where this is happening because it tells you where the transition is occurring, right? Where's the transition occurring between Pisces and Aries in your own personal chart? But before we do that, let's take a look at some of the aspects that are going to be occurring. But before I do that, let me see how everybody's doing in the chat here. Oh, I got to go back. Good morning to Julie. Good morning, Peggy. Good morning, Tamara. Good morning, Nargis. And thank you for letting me know that, Julie. And Bhupinder Singh, good morning. Says, love you all. Terry Lee Strauss, good morning. She says, I love Pisces energy. No dreams this time, but working some cool things. That's important, right? Good morning, Patty, and good morning, Teddy, and good morning, Asa. Oh my gosh, my friend, I've missed you. Christine Buckingham says, if only those who hold the power believed and felt this way. Um, Maybe we are meant to hold forgiveness and compassion for those who are not able to feel those things in the same way, perhaps, right? Let's see. Erin Nance, good morning to you. She says, stay positive. You will overcome. My sister Susan has stage 4 breast cancer as a diagnosis with Mets to lymph nodes, liver, and lung, and later developed a rare form called medullary thyroid cancer. That was a couple of years later. She had 4 bone marrow transplants, chemo, radiation therapy, in which all were unsuccessful. She was given 2 months or less to live, but she somehow battled her way back from the brink. And the good news, she is completing remission after taking natural medications. Wow, that is quite a Piscean transition story, don't you think? Right? Transitioning from what would look like an ending, a sure thing, right? Ending to what is possibly a new beginning. I love that. Thank you for sharing that with us, Erin. Tamara, I think of acceptance as being in the place of love, in courage, and in strength to see clearly what is. From that clarity, you begin to make wise choices and responses. Absolutely. And she goes on to say, when I was younger, I thought it meant being resigned and approving of things, but the dysfunctional family did not know healthy ways and distorted thinking and behaviors. You know, that's one of the, I think, the issues of thinking about this as, resignation. Acceptance is not resignation, right? And I mean, I know that you know that at this point in time. Acceptance is really just saying to yourself, all right, this, I have to work within the limits of what is at this moment. But I also know that at any moment in the future, that can change, that can shift, right? That we are, let's say, moving through a cycle. Right now in the world, we are kind of living in what is an oscillating cycle, right? If you go back through history, there are times of history where this kind of chaos that we are experiencing now exists, and it was followed by some peaceful times. That's then followed again by, some more tragic times. I mean, the evolution of our times are such that we oscillate through these big cycles. But, humans, we live maybe 70 to 100 years on the planet. So it's harder for us to see that, right? It's harder for us to see that there's this oscillation that's going on in these larger cycles of time. So we feel it pretty viscerally, right? We take it in and we really try it on for size, and we like, why did I choose to live here in this, time of trial? And I think you, like me, might have said many times, never ever did I think I would live through this. Never ever did I think I would see this, right? And here we are. We're seeing it. It's happening. But something similar likely happened at an earlier period in history that we weren't privy to or that we weren't alive during. So it's hard for us to see that, this is part of a process that we are going through. All right, let's go back to our good morning, Driselda Stubbs. Nice to have you with us this morning. Also, if you are out there listening to me for the first time today, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, to hit the like button, the thumbs up button, and to share the video with your friends. That I would appreciate immensely. Let's talk now about the new moon and its energies from the planetary point of view. So, if we look at the new moon, it occurs at 9:25 p.m. on the 18th in Washington, D.C. I said it for the capital of the USA since I live in the USA. But if you are, say, in Europe, you're going to experience that new moon on the 20th. Or I mean on the 19th, because it will occur at 1:24 in the morning for you, at least in the universal time zone. And if you are on the West Coast, as I am, of the United States, you will actually experience this new moon at 6:24 p.m. rather than 9:24 p.m. It's dependent on where you live. Now, there is an awakening aspect as a part of this new moon. And it's always fun to see these awakening aspects. And sometimes the awakening is gentle, other times awakenings can be pretty profound and even harsh. But there is an awakening aspect to this, and it's a sextile, a 60-degree relationship, a harmonizing relationship between the new moon sitting at 28 degrees of Pisces and Uranus sitting at 28 degrees of Taurus. Uranus being the planet of rebellion and awakening and liberation, while, the sun and moon creating a new beginning. So it's one of the most interesting aspects, I think, of this moon, because Uranus is often about innovation, brings something new to the table, right? Something unexpected, even sudden insight, like the aha moment, the light bulbs turning on. And whenever Uranus touches a lunation like it does here, something new is trying to break through. And we don't always see exactly what it is until boom, there it is. Now, because this is a sextile, however, the energy is cooperative rather than disruptive. So that's a good thing, right? So it's not necessarily some new tragedy thing. It is something opening us up. It is an opportunity aspect. So it says, here's the doorway. Are you going to walk through it? Right? Here's the door. Are you going to open it and take the next step, or are you just going to stand there hesitating? In Pisces, the new moon invites us to listen to intuition, to our dreams, to our visions, and our subtle inner guidance. And Uranus and Taurus, on the other hand, represents a shift in the physical world, right? So, especially around money and resources, the earth itself, and the structures that support our lives, our values, our self worth, right? All of these things. So, together, the energies of Uranus and the new moon in Pisces suggest something quite interesting, and that is that new intuitive insights lead to very real, practical changes in how we live our lives, right? Or in how we build our lives, or how it is that once we walk through the doorway, the next steps, what are they going to be? And that means that people, at this time, at this new moon, may suddenly realize a new direction they want to take, maybe a new way to support themselves, right? Rather, than it being the same old, same old. Maybe there's a new job, something new, a new way of earning, a new way of seeing yourself in the world, a new way of honoring your vision, or maybe a new way of aligning your life with your deeper values. Wouldn't that be awesome? Now, Uranus often arrives that with that clarity as a lightning bolt, right? It's like the boom, like, aha, why didn't I think of this sooner? And with this new moon, that lightning may illuminate your path forward that you hadn't previously considered, right? Something new, something exciting. Now, we also have a Saturn Neptune conjunction during this period of time. We did talk about this briefly. Saturn and the moon, or Saturn and Neptune conjunct the sun and moon, but out of sign. And in this, the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries is also in a sextile to Pluto. So Pluto's down here. I forgot to highlight him before I put the chart in the scanner this morning. But here we have Pluto in Aquarius. So if you look at the blue outlined area, just below that is where Pluto is. Pluto represented by that P. And the sextile is a little bit out of sign. Well, not really, no, because 1 and 3 degrees and Pluto at 4. So that it's to me, that's a pretty close sextile. And this is largely a part of a pattern that is shaping our coming years, right? If you look at this blue triangle here, right, you see Pluto to Saturn Neptune, and then Saturn Neptune up to Uranus. This is called a minor grand trine. And the minor grand trine is part of the architecture of the future. It is happening behind the scenes every day, just about, from last year, July of 2025 to 2028. So we have like this 3-year architecture that's being built for us behind the scenes kind of thing, right? And it's part of the larger pattern that we are seeing. And if we think about this mythically for a moment, Saturn represents structure and responsibility and reality. Neptune representing the dreams, the imagination, and the spiritual vision, and Pluto representing the deep transformation and power change that is occurring. And when these three planets or sets of planets are working together harmoniously, something extraordinary happens. And that's that dreams can become structures. Dreams can become real. Your vision manifests in the real world. And the old systems of power can begin to transform into something new. That's why I sometimes describe this alignment as the architecture of the future quietly being built beneath the surface, right? This is happening so quietly, right? And it also means that Pluto, the great transformer, is in somewhat of a trine to Uranus in Pluto or in Taurus that will become louder as we move into April and Uranus moves into Gemini and begins to stimulate those early degrees of Gemini. Then it really becomes a true minor grand trine. And that's the thing, it slides back and forth, right, between the different degrees. So sometimes it's highly activated, other times it's like in the background. Right now, it's kind of in the background, but it's there nonetheless, right? It's being built nonetheless. We just don't see it as loudly as we did, say, earlier or late in 2025. But we will see it again coming to a neighborhood near you. Now, because the new moon is sitting right at the edge of Pisces here, almost touching Saturn and Neptune, it feels like we are standing at this threshold of kind of between where the dream is and where the action is that will place the dream out there in reality. So Pisces imagines, Aries initiates, and this new moon may bring awareness to you then of what is just about ready to take form, what is ready in your life to take shape, what's jumping out. And then we also have Venus in Aries. So we have Venus in a little bit later degrees of Aries. She's at the new moon. She'll be at 15 degrees 39 minutes of Aries, but that puts her in a square to the planet Saturn up here in the sign of Cancer. So if you look toward the 12 o'clock position of this chart, that's where Jupiter is. And Venus represents love, values, relationships, and what we desire. So she's really taking us into love in action, I think, right here. And in Aries, Venus is bold and independent, and this is an action oriented sign. She wants to follow her heart, she wants to act courageously and lay a claim on what it is that she truly wants. But Jupiter in Cancer represents something different, i.e., this is a square, so this is a challenge between the two. Cancer seeks emotional security and family and traditions and belonging and protection. So the square creates a tension between these two instincts that we have, right? The instinct to follow your own path and live according to your values and live fully and love fully, and the instinct to protect the emotional bonds that you have now that make you feel safe, or the traditions and beliefs that make you feel safe. And sometimes these two desires, these two parts of ourselves align beautifully, and at other times we may feel pulled between them as we are at this new moon. And this aspect then can bring up questions for each one of us like, am I honoring my heart? Am I honoring the deeper part of my soul that wants or yearns to be free? Or am I staying small to keep everyone else comfortable? to not make waves, to disappear essentially, not to be seen. The squares create growth through friction. And this one may push us to redefine what healthy emotional security and authentic self expression really look like. What do they really look like in a life? What do they look like for you? You, right? So when we put all these pieces together, the human design, the sun, the moon, the Saturn connection, the Pluto, the Uranus, the story becomes pretty clear. The Pisces new moon is asking us to release old emotional patterns and to learn from our recent experiences, to take that learning with us as we are about to move into a new territory, and to listen to our intuitive guidance about what wants to change because something new is already beginning to form. And Uranus whispers the possibilities of how that new form can take shape, what's possible, right? Saturn, Neptune, and Pluto hint at the long term transformation that's unfolding beneath the surface. And Venus reminds us that the future, in order to be built, must honor both our hearts and our need for belonging. And just as this new moon closes out this final chapter of the zodiac, the astrological new year, which begins on Friday, 2 days after the new moon, and is something we will talk about in Friday's show, is telling us about a new story that is about to begin. All right. I hope all of this makes sense to everybody. And what I want to do now is talk about where Pisces is in your chart, right? Because if you want to personalize the new moon, which I'm sure you do, the key question is where is Pisces in your birth chart? And the house that Pisces is in represents the part of your chart where the new moon is happening, where the new beginning is taking place. So let's take a quick walk around the zodiac then and see where this energy may be touching your life. And this is where it is so helpful if you have your astrology chart in front of you. So, as we look at let's put Pisces in the first house. Let's start at the beginning here. If you have Pisces as your rising sign or Pisces on the first house of your chart, you are experiencing a personal reset, right? You may feel the urge to redefine who you are, release old identities around who you thought you were, and begin presenting to yourself to the world in a new way, in a more true or more authentic way. And a period of emotional and or spiritual reflection could lead you to a fresh sense of self, right? First house. If you have Pisces on the second house represents money, values, and self worth, earning power, resources, that type of thing. Here, the new moon invites you to reconsider what you truly value and how you value yourself is also a part of that. Financial matters here may shift for you, but even more importantly, your sense of self worth may be evolving. And what talents or resources are ready to emerge in your life that you have not yet tapped into fully, right? Something is leaving here that allows you to open up to a new sense of self worth. Third house. If you have a third house Pisces, that house represents the mind, communication, and learning, as well as siblings and your neighbors, right? The people that are fairly close to you, but just kind of one step back from your most significant relationships. You may feel called to reshape, rethink your beliefs, your conversations, or ways of learning. Something new may be coming up that you want to learn. Mercury here in retrograde, Mercury being the ruler of the third house, and that means you would have Mercury retrograde in your third house, Pisces, suggests that you may be revisiting old ideas or reconnecting with people from your past. Pay attention to the intuitive insights and meaningful conversations around you. They could be little seeds of conversations to come. They could be something that relates you backward to the past. If you have a fourth house Pisces New Moon. The fourth house represents home, family, traditions, mother, emotional foundations. And when I say mother, it can also be the parent that had the nurturing position in life, right? Some of you might have grown up with single parents, and that single parent was the dad. So the fourth house might represent your father. Now, this new moon for you may bring reflection around home and family and emotional security. Old family stories may be surfacing that need to be healed, right? They're surfacing for healing. Or you may feel the desire to create a more peaceful or nurturing foundation in your life, foundations that support your own authenticity and your own authority without succumbing to family pressures and so forth. So the new moon here for you signaling a new sense of emotional security without giving yourself away over much to your family. A fifth house new moon. The fifth house is creativity, joy, self expression. So here the new moon awakens your creative and emotional heart. So it may inspire artistic expression, romance, or reconnecting with the things that really light you up from inside, the things that bring you joy and bliss. Let yourself experiment and rediscover what lights you up, right? Maybe you lost sight of that creative center, and that's what's helping, or what's, Pisces new moon is helping you reestablish before you move on into the Aries ignition point. If you have a sixth house new moon in Pisces, then you're dealing with health, work, and your daily life, how you serve the world through sharing of your gifts and talents. And that means this new moon encourages changes in your daily routine that impact your well being. Right, that sets you up for better health. Maybe you feel the need to release old habits that have been holding you back or draining your energy. Maybe you feel the need to detoxify your environment or detoxify through changes in your body, and maybe a move toward practices that support both body, mind, and spirit, right? Kind of being more holistic in the way that you treat your body. If you have a seventh house Pisces new moon, that house represents relationships, specifically your most significant other relationships, but also partnerships. So business partnerships, or relationships that are in your personal life. Partnerships for you may come into to more perspective for you now, right? Really coming into more focus. And this new moon may illuminate patterns in how you relate to others that have not supported you in the relationship. Some relationships deepen through compassion at this time, maybe, while others may shift as your emotional truth also shifts. Maybe things become clearer and you see that the relationship has not been supporting you at all, right? So, making a shift in your relationships is what would be the most prominent energetic thing that you would be moving through. If you have an eighth house Pisces, then your eighth house is about transformation and shared resources. Here, the new moon touches the deeper emotional waters of life, right? Issues of trust, vulnerability, shared finances, merging or bonding energies arise. And this could be a powerful time for emotional healing. And this house also happens to be the place where we are releasing the old emotional baggage, where the depth of something coming up is there to be released. But it can feel like a wound. It can feel a little ugly at first. So if you have an eighth house Pisces here, you're ready for some kind of very powerful transformation in your life, right? So maybe not very comfortable, but also maybe very freeing. If you have a ninth house Pisces, then you're dealing with beliefs, travel, and a higher understanding. You may feel called to explore new philosophies or spiritual insights that you gain from conversations with people. The new moon may inspire you to take on a new learning or teaching or expand your worldview in some way. A belief system that once guided you may now be evolving. And yes, this is it. This is where my new moon is, in that ninth house. And let me tell you, things are evolving for me on that front. If you have a 10th house Pisces new moon, then you're dealing with career and life direction and your inner authority. So, this new moon may bring reflection for you about your public role and about your long term goals. Who am I and who do I want to be and how do I want to express myself? You may feel inspired to pursue work that aligns more deeply with your authentic self, with your purpose and with your spiritual values, where, maybe in other times it's been all about the money or what you needed to survive. Maybe now you open up a little bit to see what the bigger picture might be for you. If you have an 11th house new moon Pisces, then this is the house of community, networks, friendships, but also future vision. This house is very much looking at the future. So for you, it might be about friendships and networks and collective dreams that you've been a part of that shift during this period of time. The new moon may actually help you clarify the future that you want to build and the communities that you want to grow with. And the people that support that vision are the ones that you want to move forward with. And that kind of implies that you also need to release or let go of those things that are those communities, those networks, those friendships that no longer support that for you. And last but not least, if you have a 12th house Pisces, the 12th house, Pisces new moon, by the way, the 12th house is about spiritual growth and inner healing. It is a very deep place for sure. This placement invites deep introspection. It's not the dead sexy part of the chart for sure, but it can really take you here, or encourage you to rest and reflect and encourage a spiritual renewal for you during this time. Old emotional patterns may dissolve, right? It's a dissolving place and it's in a dissolving sign, right? It's the house that actually has an affinity for Piscean energy. So it may be time for you to have a powerful personal rebirth, and that would happen when, of course, all the energy moves to Aries. So you're kind of cleaning out what needs to be cleaned out before you can have that serious new birth coming for all of us. So wherever Pisces falls in your chart, that's the area of life where this new moon is, asking you to release what has sort of run its course and to listen for the quiet whisper of what wants to begin next, right? And this is happening for everybody. You can think of this as the universe asking you to clear the canvas before the next masterpiece begins, right? Cleaning, beginning with cleaning it out so that you have a tabula rasa, something new that you can write upon for the future. All right. Hopefully that was helpful for everybody. I don't often have time in the morning to do something like that, but I definitely wanted to do that for everybody today. Somebody just got a tornado warning in New Jersey. Oh my gosh, Christine. Oh, sending prayers to you definitely for that. Let's pull a card for this new moon. We have a couple minutes to do so here. I'm going to reach down and pull out another deck. Oh, Soul Coaching wants to come out. Okay. Soul Coaching by Denise Lynn. And I love these cards. Let's see what we have here. And that reminds me, I got a new tarot deck at Christmas, and I keep forgetting to pull it. I put it next to me over where I sit at night so I can play with the cards, but that means I'm not sharing them with you guys. All right. Oh, what a perfect card. It is called Emerging. Emerging. Isn't that beautiful? It's card number 16, which is a 7, which sort of connotes spirituality, research, deep dive, introspection, and emerging. Perfect message, I think, for a new moon. So, card 16, let's read this. The card's meaning: just as a new sprout pushes through the soil into the light, you are emerging. Ideas and things that have been incubating within you for a long time are now moving toward manifestation. Your soul wants you to know this. This is an exciting time for you, truly a period of new beginnings. Things for which you've been patiently waiting for a long time are about to manifest. A new seedling is most vulnerable, however, just as it emerges through the earth. It needs to be nourished and protected until it's strong enough to weather harsh climates. So you must take care to nurture your dreams and yourself in this tender time. Rest, eat well, drink plenty of water, and take healing baths. Get ready. A new joyous path awaits you. And there's an affirmation for this one that says, I am emerging into the light with joy and ease. I am emerging into the light with joy and ease. Oh, I couldn't have chosen a better card if I tried. There we have it, emerging, our card to help guide us through this new moon window. All right. So be ready on Friday. Have your chart with you. You might have your human design chart too, because I may take us on a journey there. You never know. But for sure, it's the zodiacal astrological new year. And we are definitely going to want to talk about what that means for all of us. So we'll see you then on Friday. Bye for now.